We're live. How you
Boom.
doing, Brett?
I'm doing, let's say that.
Yeah,
Um
a little bit. we're just we're just laughing about the fingerprint you leave on the internet as your younger self.
yeah, it doesn't go away. I mean, I
Doesn't
guess
go away.
technically you can try to delete, like we were just talking about Facebook, and
Ah,
I hear there's like so many hoops to jump through to delete your Facebook.
yes. Yeah, it
So,
doesn't come away easy. By the way, this is Vlog Thursday 368. That was kind of what started this. Is that well, I've been doing this for a while, and some of the things you do. There's a couple companies that archive all that data.
I
That
bet.
and I learned about this from my friend that works at a data center that he moved up a tier, and when he applied working there to the next tier, which was their GovCloud stuff, he had to go through security clearance. Whatever. I've been working at this place for a while. I get to touch all the fancy stuff. I'll be fine. They pulled up his MySpace. These guys came in and sat down with him, and they said, "What did you mean by saying this?" And he goes, he goes, it was like playing back some of the cringiest things. He goes, dude,
Dude,
he goes, I was in like 10th grade. He's like,
no.
I
There's
don't know why I
no
posted that.
if my MySpace got dug up, I would crawl into a hole and
Yeah.
never come out ever again. There's no way. Oh,
Uh,
I can't even think about that. That's terrible.
yeah. So there is places where you may apply where that may, even if you've requested to be deleted and MySpace is long
Mm,
gone. And I don't even think the web archive has all the MySpace stuff we said on there. So
good, good. Leave it dead and buried.
oh, lots of people in the comments here. Greetings from all over the place. That's always the fun thing is finding out. Well, I think it's a little late for my European crowd. When I do it earlier, you get a heavier Europe
Hmm.
crowd. So I think I should probably have a more US crowd here doing it at 8 p.m. EST.
Yeah, what's it over in Europe? It's like 6 hours ahead or so. So yeah, they're
Yeah.
sleepy time.
There's a few really late night people that might be over there, but for the most part. Oh, we
Yep.
got Netherlands, 2 a.m. in the Netherlands. So
There you go. Night owl. Boom. Respect.
so how is your move to Linux going? 30-day Linux challenge.
Yep. It's officially started. So I'm only one day in, about a little over 24 hours in, and it's about what I expected so far. So I did this last year and I made a video about it, but I only did 7 days. And the goal of that was basically survive a week of using Linux. But I'm going into it this time, I'm doing it for a month. And it's more going to be like not just try to survive it, but like actually learn along the way. Actually, like learn how to use Linux as like a power user from that standpoint. Because I can like, I mean, I'm just a dude with a camera who films himself like setting up servers and stuff. I'm by no means like a Linux power user. So I'm going into this thinking I can come out the other end more knowledgeable on Linux in general. So I have my notes here from day one.
I do want to mention real quick. I introduced you as Brett because that's what your name said.
Oh,
RaidOwl,
yeah.
this is his channel because someone's like, "Hey, he's a YouTuber." Just in case you
Oh,
aren't
yeah.
subscribed, I
I
want to
probably
make
should
sure
have
it's
put that.
clear. Go subscribe to RaidOwl. Easy to find, as I didn't say that at the beginning. So
Yeah, that's me.
yeah,
Um,
that's where he's going to be
but
documenting this for his second round of getting into Linux.
exactly. So my notes say the first one is scaling between external monitors is butt cheeks. So I have a 4K monitor and a 1080p monitor.
Ah, yes, that you're
Yeah,
right. If you want to do the scaling, yes,
yeah. You have to do. You either pick one because it's not like in Windows where you can pick based on the display if you want like 100, 200% scaling. So you
that is
pick
a
one.
really annoying thing that I'm hoping Pop OS. I know I've heard that something they're really working on is be able to do that because yeah, setting the fractional scaling, it screws things up. It's one of the reasons this monitor here that I'm looking at isn't 4K. I was going to get one, but I realized fractional scaling didn't work and it would break if I had
Hmm.
to fractional scale on my other monitor that I don't want done that. So
Yeah. So it's so I have a 4K monitor and a 1080p monitor. So I basically have to choose between the 1080p monitor looking okay and the 4K having everything small, or the 4K looking normal and everything just blown to smithereens on the 1080p. So I've kind of got it in this like happy medium where it's normal on the 1080p, kind of small on the 4K, but I have like the icons and text increased, so it kind of helps.
Mhm.
And it's doable. It's not bad. Um, but I've read some things that like on Wayland it's a little bit better, but I've also heard that Wayland is buggy as hell.
Yes.
So I've not been on that. So
Yeah. They said adjust your audio up just a little bit.
I saw
Oh,
that
okay.
comment and I bumped
Perfect.
it. So hopefully it's a little better.
Yep. Yeah, Wayland's supposed to fix that. I'm hoping because I know the folks at Pop OS, and I'm excited
Hmm.
about this. They're redoing. I think it's going to call it the Cosmic Desktop, if I get the name right. They're going to just re-engineer a lot of things under the hood and just kind of give us a better desktop experience, which does make me happy. Especially some of the latest Windows news had me laughing. Like Microsoft's so desperate to get everyone to want Edge that they're automatically switching, even if you told them not to, switching your
Hmm.
browser, extracting things out of your other browser. I'm just
Yeah.
like, they just do things that are goofy. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, I was using Edge for a little bit when they made the big switch to Chromium, and like it was actually like good. It wasn't the old Internet Explorer days. I used it for a bit and it was fine. Then I switched back to Google, and Windows was like, "We we saw you do that, and we don't really like what we're seeing here." So yeah, I've stuck with Google since then. But another thing I put as a positive, I like the software and update manager. So I'm using Mint, by the way. I should have said that
Oh,
first.
yeah, Mint's not a bad OS.
Yeah, I used just regular Ubuntu last time, and I was deciding between Pop OS and Mint this time around, and I tried them both. And I think from just a pure desktop perspective, Mint seemed to be a little better. I mean, I don't know. I had to go with one, so I kind of joke when people ask like which distro did you pick? I just say the wrong one
Mhm.
because it doesn't matter what I picked. It was going to be the wrong one based on the comments. So
Yeah, that is the fun of the Linux community.
yeah, exactly. So I'm just rolling with it. Yeah, Mint with Cinnamon is what I'm rocking, and yeah, the software and update managers is clean. It's easy to use. I like that. It prompts you, and you can just easily select what you want updated, what you don't. It's not like Windows updates where it's kind of like, here's a vague description of the update. Go.
and
Um,
and by the way, you're the beta tester in Windows Update.
exactly. So, yeah, I like that. Being able to manage which kernel you're on right there in the GUI is pretty nice. One thing I have is neutral, and this is probably just as much on Dell as it is on Mint. There's like three modes you can pick when you're rocking a laptop here. There's Intel using the integrated GPU. There's the NVIDIA, which just straight uses the graphics card, and on demand, which uses the integrated GPU, but when you launch apps, it's like, oh, is this a graphic intensive app? And it'll run that using the dedicated GPU. And it works okay. But the desktop, it feels like much more responsive on the dedicated GPU rather than when it's running on the integrated Intel GPU. And I don't know if that's like a Linux thing or a Mint thing or a Dell Plus Linux thing, but um, I would
Those
run it on the NVIDIA card the entire time, but the fans just ramp up like
mm,
immediately. And I'm just such like a noise snob with my computers that I can't handle it.
no, I hear you on that. It's definitely been a challenge for a while to get that right. And
Hmm.
that was if you see a lot of the Linux laptops, something offered by System 76 or one of the
Hmm.
other Linux dedicated companies producing the hardware, they seem to avoid those most of the time because they
Yeah.
know that, like, yeah, sorry, that's we're not good at that yet in Linux world. So
Yeah.
it definitely can cause an issue.
Yeah. I will say I was surprised when I even saw that option down there. So I tried it out, and that's what I'm rolling with right now. And It's fine. The only thing I've really noticed is I can no longer set my 4K monitor to 144 hertz. It maxes out at 96 now,
Oh, that's odd.
which I guess might be a limitation of the Intel GPU with the bandwidth I'm trying to push through it, but it doesn't sound like that much. One 4K monitor and one 1080p monitor.
Hmm.
So,
Well, I mean, if it worked in Windows, the hardware's capable of it. So
right. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, 96 hertz is perfectly fine. It runs, like I said, fine. But much more like, it was much more smooth when I had it running just on the dedicated NVIDIA card. I had a nightmare of a time with OBS Audio and DaVinci Resolve. That sucked. So I initially, like, once I set up Linux, I was like, okay, I gotta download my apps that I need: OBS, DaVinci Resolve, Steam, Google Chrome, like the things I use on a day-to-day basis. Um, so I opened OBS. The webcam wouldn't come up, but I've had that in Windows a lot, just OBS things.
yeah.
So I kind of like turned it off, turned it back on, restarted OBS, and eventually the webcam came up. Then I tested recording and it worked fine. I could see my mic, I could see it, the audio going up and down the waveform. I was like, yes, we have video, we have audio. I pressed record. It was recording. I'm like, okay, this is great. Then I played back my recording in VLC and there was no audio. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I can see the waveform. I can see it's recording. What the hell? So I did some Googling, dig down in some forums from like 2017, and eventually just like restarted Pulse Audio, and that did something. Like, I don't know. Because then I had audio in my recordings, and I was like, yes, we're good. Let's test DaVinci. And I dragged one into DaVinci.
No audio.
No waveforms. No waveforms in DaVinci. I could hear the audio in the recording. And when I bring the audio or the entire clip into DaVinci, not even a waveform in the audio. I was like, what the hell is going on? But apparently,
There's a codec problem.
yeah, AAC
Yeah.
isn't natively supported in DaVinci Resolve. So I had to switch to whatever the backup one was in OBS,
Yep.
and we are good. So
Yeah. The
avoided.
the adventures of that. So that's one of the problems is they don't have I forget what AAC codec I think it is. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's the one there, and they want PCM because there's a licensing argument, and they don't
Yep.
want to get into. There's a comment somewhere from one of the developers at DaVinci, like, we're not dealing with legal arguments. Like, there's some controversy. We're not spending lawyers on it. Use this codec. End of story.
Yeah, that's like the first thing I experienced with like licensing codecs is when I still use a Ninja 5 on my camera for recording videos, and they're like, oh, cool. If you want to record in, it's not ProRes RAW, it's some other codec. Maybe it's ProRes RAW. It's like $300. I'm like, wait, what? I can record in like ProRes, high quality 422. And then if I want to record in something else, I have to pay $300.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, apparently that's like a licensing thing. I was like, oh, I didn't know that was like a thing that got passed down to the consumer. I thought that was all on like the company, but I guess it's a business
No.
model. If they want to pass it down, they can do that.
Yeah, it is kind of a pain the way they do that. One thing's too, and I can send this to you. There's a script I have for when I pull audio. I use some of the B-roll off my phone, but maybe I want the audio off of it. What I
Mm-hmm.
can do is I can drop them all in there, and I have a script, and it rips through and reconverts them all. It pulls the audio out of the video, syncs it back to PCM, and then reassembles it automatically. It's
Oh,
a batch
nice.
script, so you just run it in the folder where all the audio files are, and it just finds and fixes all of them for you.
Nice.
It's one of those little hacks I had to come up with to fix that.
Yeah, that does sound useful. Um, let's see. I have positive gestures work surprisingly well on the laptop, which I was kind of surprised about because coming from a MacBook, which is like the king of trackpads and
Yeah.
like gesture controls, I was like, okay, this is going to be ass. Like a Dell laptop with a Linux operating system, but it's surprisingly good. Like the customization options you have natively in Mint for like two finger swipe, up, down, left, right, three finger, four finger, five finger. You know, if you want it to do it at the beginning of the swipe, at the end, and all the different options you have, I was like, whoa, this is actually usable. Like this is great. So I was pleasantly surprised there. Um, Night Owl. That's me.
And I know.
That's close enough. How are you liking your move to Ubiquiti Unify? I like it.
Improve.
Yeah, it works. It's great. I mean, the firewall rules are kind of janky, but I actually just today filmed a walkthrough of my Ubiquiti Unify network setup, and it's like I'm most of my videos are scripted. Like I'll sit there and I'll type out like a nice script and be able to like go through it and just say what I want to say. But this one I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just do an intro, turn around and just walk through my network as if I was sitting there explaining it. And that's when you find out all your crutch words like um and so. I'm like, oh my God. I had to edit out so many ums and so's and so likes and
Yeah. It's
but
one of those, how I got better at doing that was I don't really script things. I bullet
mhm.
point them. And once you've edited, as I have just about 1,800 videos that made it to publishing, by the way, they've actually got way more videos than that. And once you edit all of your own content, you realize how poorly you speak, or the fact that you use the same adjective repetitively. So first you got to
Mhm.
get rid of all the ahs and ums, all the disfluences, and then you have to work on like, oh, I say like a lot.
Mhm.
And once you've edited out the 100th time you said like, you learn. It's like this thing when I get in a mode now when I start recording, I change up the adjectives. I speak very concisely. I'm like, because future me knows I have to edit this.
Oh yeah, and I'm so aware that I have this problem when I don't script things, and I've known this even before I started scripting my videos, that I ramble so much if I don't have a script. Like I will,
I am off
and
topic all the time.
yeah, and I tried so hard in this one to be concise, and I like pulled the footage in. And it was like 45 minutes. I'm like, what
What did I
the
do?
hell? I was trying to be concise, and I'm like sitting here editing. I'm like, why am I going off so much on this one little thing? So yeah, that's when I started writing scripts for my videos, and that seems to work pretty well for me. And
Yeah,
it,
it's figuring out the right balance. I script the intro is the one part I script frequently because I try to make an intro to make you want to watch the rest of the video. I give you enough details to tell you why you should watch this video and why you should continue and not click whatever's more interesting next to me. But
yeah,
um so I try to write that because if not, my intros would all be 7 minutes long for a
yeah,
4 minute video.
yeah. I was so bad at that when I first started YouTube. I'd go back and watch some of my videos, and I'm like, it's like a minute and a half in, and I haven't even like talked about what the hell I'm doing. Like this is so bad. So
Yeah.
I've switched to like in the first 10 seconds is like, okay, something interesting, or like this is what I'm going to be doing, and that seems to work pretty well. But it's funny you say like when you were mentioning like your crutch words and you start to notice them. At my 9 to 5 job, I for like 2 years I was part of Toastmasters, which
Oh, yeah.
yeah, for those that don't know, it's like a an organization that helps you like practice public speaking.
They're really helpful.
Yeah, and one of the things they do is when you're practicing your speeches, they will count. There'll be a designated person who counts your crutch words, and at the end of your speech, they'll tell you, "Yeah, you had 17 ums, 24 likes." It's like, oh my gosh! So they'll like call you out like on the spot of your crutch words.
Do you know what I really want someday? And maybe there's some script that can do this. See, the way we edit, we got a whole timeline of all the things. We have everything we chopped out. I want an invert button. So here's my published video, but here's the invert of that. Here's all the ums and just how
Yeah,
many there are.
it's like those. You ever seen those edits where it'll usually be here's a speech of somebody, but it's only them taking breaths. and the
Yeah.
whole thing's just like that's what it would be like.
One day,
Yeah, that'd
one
be
day, maybe
great.
I'll do that because DaVinci's got that new option to edit by the text that it
Hmm.
creates. It'll do that. Maybe I'll say let's cut out anything that's not an or something like that.
Yeah. See how
That'll
many
be my
you really
blooper reel.
have. Put it together. Make a short out of it.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of back to the topic with the gestures. One, you're right, they're really good. So one of the reasons I went with Pop OS, and
Hmm.
it's been a long time since I looked at Mint, and they may have feature parity with the way Pop OS does it. I just kind of got stuck on Pop OS and ain't broke, don't fix it. So I just stick
Yeah.
with that distro, despite how many people tell me I should try the latest, whatever. But one of the things they've done is document all the different gestures, shortcut keys, and of course, they've also become muscle memory to me, all the gestures and shortcut keys, where it's all right where I need it to be. So if you ask me how to do some things, I'd actually pause to think about it. But if you tell me to do them, my fingers are near keys, the thing
Yeah.
happens. And
Right.
that's one thing that makes me feel so clunky whenever I have to use Windows. I feel lost. I feel like this is such a clunky thing because someone commented I did a demo and I was doing something in Windows, and there's always those comments like you could have done that with less click. I'm like, look, this is how I get to that thing. Just
Dude, that's me coding. Like, it's like, hey,
yeah,
don't you know there's like a keyboard shortcut for going back, erasing, and going up one line? I'm like, yeah, but
but
that's
this
not
is
how
how
I
I
do it.
do it.
Yeah.
I've only looked briefly at this. Have you ever looked at the Casa OS? Because I know you have several of the Zimas,
Hmm.
and you did a recent updated Zima video, which is great.
Yeah. So I did mention that in my last video where I finally got around to trying out the Zima Blade. And I had a section in there where I mentioned trying out COS because I come back to it every like 6 months because when I first saw it, I was like, man, I like this. This is clean. It looks
It
nice, but
has such a nice look.
it looks so good. Like their UI is so clean. It's nice. But when you like peek behind the curtains, behind all that like nice looking stuff, there's just so much stuff lacking. Like there's no user control. Like you can't add users, you can't modify. Like there's nothing there with that.
And I believe you mentioned
There's
in your video there's no RAID support.
there's no RAID support at all. You can't modify a there's certain containers like you can't modify before you create it, like with their apps. Some of them you can, some of them you can't until after they're created, which is kind of annoying. There's like all these little things that kind of add up to where I'm like, um, come back when it's like ready. And that's why I went off on a like, guys, you have all these pieces of hardware you're releasing, and now you're releasing another operating system, ZMOS, that's
Mhm.
still in beta. It's like, can you just give us one good operating system with one good piece of hardware like that's totally fleshed out?
Yeah, I don't
But
understand.
they're
Like they
so
kind of
close. They are so close to like having some really impressive pieces of hardware and a really impressive little kind of Docker instance thing. So,
because one of my takes when I look at it is making sure that if I can build something, Docker's an easy example of this. Can I build it? Can I rebuild it? Can I take another system and easily get this set back
mhm,
up? How do I feel confident I know where my data is? So if this thing went kaput, I can easily grab my data, grab that Docker config, and boom, have it set back up.
mhm,
That is just the way I think about it. It's like this may fail one day. I've worked in tech for over 30 years. Everything fails eventually. How quickly can I rebuild something that I rely on? And I didn't feel any confidence on a CastOS that I was clear on where my data was, that I clearly had a backup process for it, like to make sure I could validate the integrity and redo it, even if
yeah.
it requires script.
Oh no.
Your
Oh
camera's
no. Oh no. Linux. Linux, what are you doing? Oh no.
this is the best thing ever.
What is
This
happening?
is the Linux experience.
Oh no. Okay, guys, there's an earthquake. It's actually not Linux. There's just a huge earthquake in Texas going on right now.
This
Oh
this
my god.
embodies exactly how his Linux
Okay.
transition is going.
Okay, hold on. Wait, what the hell is going? All right, I'm gonna unplug it and plug it back in.
Okay, that's fine.
Holy shit.
I am greatly amused by this.
Okay. Let's unplug you. Oh god. It's making me dizzy looking at it. Wait.
Did you just
Okay.
touch it and it stopped?
Is it following me now?
Yeah. What camera is that?
What is going on?
What camera is that one?
Okay. So,
What camera do you have?
the Insta
Okay, that's what
360 something. Oh no. Okay. Okay. All
I
right.
didn't know it worked with
Relax.
Linux at all.
Well,
Well,
uh,
I'm just gonna
all right.
say
I'm gonna actually unplug it. Okay.
we'll give him a second while he fixes this. This is amazing.
Okay.
I am
It's doing things.
greatly amused by this.
It's no. Wait, what is it doing now? It's booting up.
This defines
I'm trying
live
to get
streaming.
my headphones back in.
So for anyone's
Is
curious, is maybe just joining us now, this is how Brett RaidOwl's transition to Linux is going.
okay. Yeah. 1 second. Let's see. Oh wait. Start cam. Okay. It's not.
What
Hold
is
on.
this feature called?
Oh no. Now it's not even detecting my. Okay. Hold on. Let me see if it comes OBS.
You're making a wonderful live stream here. I'm just saying this.
Okay. Wait. It's doing something.
This is the reason
Trying
I
to do
haven't switched to
something.
Linux.
Yeah.
I see.
Oh wait. I think I got it. Okay. Well, it didn't want to go back to its default position. And
But it
now,
went somewhere.
oh God, now it lost connection again. So
Um,
guys,
I
this
am
is the
using Linux on my
Linux.
desktop. I don't have an Insta360, but I bought them for my staff. Several of my staff have these, and my staff doesn't all run Linux. Those that do run Linux do not have
Right.
them because I recommended them against it. I was like, I don't know if this works in Linux. You're on your own. All right, he's bounced out for a minute while he's sorts out his technical difficulties. I seen a TailScale question. First I'll answer this one because it's an easy one. No, I have not played with GNS3. So I have not. I have not been to CES, but we'll come back to that question because my friend Brett here has been to CES. He's got a video on it. Someone asked about TailScale. That may be too far up for me to scroll back, but I'm working on a new video for TailScale and pfSense because TailScale has added more features. So absolutely, I will be doing an updated video on that. So that's definitely a topic that's going to be coming up with TailScale. The TailScale and pfSense, there's a few things that I didn't know it could do, but through consulting and fun things that a few of my technicians done, they taught me things because I wasn't using it that way. So I want to bring. I don't think I'll bring him on, but I will be sitting with one of my techs soon to kind of cover exactly how we got a couple interesting things to work, so I can do an updated video on TailScale. I'm happy with TailScale, but I will also mention I'm doing a new video on Netbird as well. Netbird has got some new versions coming out and some updates, so I will be covering. I want to dive into that as a product because I think it's just Netbird is great. For any of you that don't know about Netbird or haven't heard of it, I did a video on it maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago. But if you type in Netbird, there's only one video on my channel for it. It is very similar to TailScale, but you can host the control plane. I just want to give them a shout out because I really like, when I can, just supporting. It's not sponsored by Netbird at all. I just like when companies can really do a good job with something open source. And for people not sure what words I'm using, it's netbird.io. It's a pretty slick system. Opening up ports would be the solution. I do open up ports for TailScale. The reason why is because you can get the best connection and not relay it. Reverse proxy with Synology and pfSense. I don't think I have any of my Synologies on there. I don't know how to fix this. My Synologies, when I use HA proxy, they seem to time out all the time. They make me relog in my credentials, not really time out, but they expire my credentials way faster. And I've never really dug into why. And I'm not in my Synologies enough to care about the URL being. I don't log into it often enough that that's an issue. And they also have their own proxy tool inside of there. I think you can add yourself, Brett, when you're ready. Or
Test.
is it?
I'm back.
Yeah,
As you
you're
can
back.
tell, I got my laptop webcam because my
Fair enough.
Insta360 just like shit its pants.
Fair.
So we're gonna be running potato webcam for for the foreseeable future. Like I don't
Let's
know what
just be
happened.
honest. No one's here for our camera quality.
Exactly. This looks more Linux, you know? Like this is more of a
This
Linux
looks more
vibe
Linux
I've
for
got
sure.
going right here. Let me not kind of see if I can blind people with this light.
Does it get old for
Is that
repeatedly
bouncing
redoing
off the
videos like
wall here?
pfSense, etc.? No, it doesn't.
God, this looks like shit. Can we
Is
get
there
this?
something on your webcam? Try wiping it off. Feels like it's blurry.
That looks terrible too. All right, you guys get the sun in the corner of my. Wow. So this is a review of the Dell XPS 9520 webcam.
Yep.
It looks like shit. And
It's pure potato. Just
yeah, absolute potato. Yeah, so for anyone just tuning in and like, oh, this RaidOwl has shit quality. Look, I usually run on this camera behind me that looks really good. And if I'm in a pinch, I'll run on my Insta360, but that decided to stroke.
it
So now
it did it in the
we're
best
on our
way.
super backup. It really did. Go back and watch the VOD after this and
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
laugh at the earthquake that hit my house apparently.
Have I done a recent video on pfSense? My older ones are fine. They're still accurate. There's going to be some nuanced differences, but I've got a lot of them on there. I am going to do a new one, so I got it. That's my goals are going to be because my last pfSense video I think is 2022, so it's been 2 years. There's been some changes.
I
What
heard
about for
someone
you?
ask. I was gonna say someone asked before I exploded about CES, and I was like, man, I wanted to try to convince
Yeah,
everyone to go next year because it was a blast.
I I didn't know as many. I wasn't sure because it's not exactly my niche because I'm more in the enterprise space. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think I should go. My cousin now is going to. She's like, you should have went. And I was like, oh, you went? I didn't know she was going. And my cousin's a big YouTuber. She does family stuff. She's not in the tech world at all,
Hmm.
which is why I was shocked she was going to CES. But she's actually fun to hang out with. She lives here in Michigan, so I get to see her from time to time. She lives about 3 or 4 hours north of me. But knowing that all of you guys were going, I had the FOMO because I seen I'm like, oh, you went. I think you and Geerling and did Craft Computing go this year? Or no, he didn't go this year.
No, he didn't go.
Okay. For those of you that don't know, I've listed my friends and different channels I watch all on my website, including RaidOwl. We have a not so secret Discord group where we all talk about things all the time. So if you ever wonder if we collaborate or just know about each other's videos, yes, we do.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're always in there hanging out.
we're
So
always in there hanging out,
we're very aware
laughing
of
at all
each
the
other's
silliness.
presence.
It's one of those
Yeah,
things that.
we laugh at your comments all the time, by the way. So
Oh yeah.
just
There's
know that if you post something cringe dumb, we're putting you on blast
yep.
in our creator Discord.
It's
So
how we cope with it because when you're an individual creator, you may get offended by the comments, but you're like, when you share, you're like, oh, that person found your channel too and
mhm.
said the dumbest thing possible and insulted the way you looked. Yeah, they did it on my channel too.
we
And then
look
like three
we
of
know
us go,
exactly who we're talking about here. So
yes, we do.
there's a specific person. They're not in here. Don't worry. We're not talking about any of you. I haven't seen this person, so don't worry. I haven't seen anyone in this chat that we've actually talked to. You guys are cool. Relax. But yeah, it's a coping mechanism. Don't worry.
It is. Yeah, it's It's one of those things you kind of have to have a community around some of the things you do. So it's actually me and Jay started this, I don't remember, a while ago now. And we started reaching out to all these other YouTubers, and we told them to reach out to other YouTubers. And I don't know who got in there from where, but we're all in the same, like we're all a bunch of nerds making tech videos.
Yep.
It's kind of fun. Oh, I learned something fun you get a kick out of. So I went to this I'm actually thinking about buying an RV. So I should travel. I've decided I'm old and getting older, so I should travel somewhere. And I'm like, why not travel in a camper? That sounds good. So I went to an RV show. But of course, before then, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and I found this guy called the RV Nerd. He's got like tons and tons of videos, and he's really good at it about telling you about RVs. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Well, he's there at the show, right? And end up talking to him. One of the funniest things he told me was they started a Discord for other people who make RV videos, and he was the leader of it. And I'm like, and I came up with this idea for technology. He goes, yeah, you got to find your niche, just do it. We're just cracking up.
Exactly.
It's like, my wife's like, you talked to him for like an hour here. She went and looked at RVs, and me and him talked about YouTube for like an hour.
Yeah, dude,
It was kind of fun.
Speaking of RVs, go watch the CES video where I did the walkthrough.
Yeah, your
of
really
the
fancy one.
That thing was cool as shit. Like, that was when I was walking through the CS floor. That was my first time, and like next year I'll be a little bit better. But I was kind of like, okay, anything cool I see, I'm just gonna do a video on it. And we were kind of walking through. We were in like the car and transportation big area. So I was like, I don't know, we're just kind of walking through. I'm not gonna make a video on anything. And I turn, I see like this sleek RV. I'm like, holy shit, this thing's cool. And it's like a travel trailer. You tow it, but it's got electric motors in both the wheels.
Yeah, it pushes it. I watched that. That was
so it
neat.
pushes it, and it auto hitches to your tow hitch. I'm like, oh man, this thing is cool as shit. It's got like, I can't remember how many kilowatts of battery pack and solar on the top. I'm like, man, this thing is tight. This might make me actually go touch grass out in nature if I actually had one of these. But
I have like two plans. Sometimes I want one because I want to disappear occasionally, just into the woods.
Right.
Which I do that. I go ride my motorcycle, and that's my offline thing and touch grass thing I do once in a while. But I actually thought, it might be fun to go visit some of these other YouTubers. You're in Texas, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So you're in Texas, and there's another group of YouTubers. I didn't realize how many of them live over by like Craft Computing in that corner of the
Portland
world
area, or like
the Portland area.
Portland, right? Yeah, there's a bunch up there.
Yeah, I can like go there and see everybody. Everyone's within an hour of each other.
Yeah, I know Colton from Hardware Havens in Oklahoma, so he's probably like the closest to me.
Yeah,
but anything outside of Texas, if you're going West Texas from Houston, it's like could be a 10-15 hour drive because Texas massive. So I don't know anybody else that's in Texas from like tech creators. Like
Network Chuck's in Texas.
Maybe bigger ones in Austin. Who is?
Network Chuck.
Oh, is he like in Austin or Dallas?
I think he's Austin.
I would assume Austin.
Austin, I'm trying to remember if it's Austin or Dallas. It is one of those two. Wherever the last Vid Summit was, not VidCon, but the Vid Summit they did. He lives in that city.
Sure it was Dallas, right?
I think that was Dallas. I've only been to those two cities in Texas, and I mean,
there's only 4 real cities in Texas. So you got Dallas, Austin, Houston, and San Antonio.
Someone confirmed that he's in Dallas. So
there you go. Network Chuck Stalker. Got him.
Yep.
I'm going to need an exact address.
Yeah, I actually I ended up BSing with him a bit on when I was in VidCon with him. So, or Vid Summit. Vid Summit's what's called. So it's the one for creators, not the one where the fans come and harass the creators. That's
it's VidCon. Vid Summit's for
the creator one, and VidCon is where all the kids come and harass the creators. I think that's
how many times in real life have you been approached like, hey, I watch your YouTube videos?
Some of the strangest stories I have about that. So let's start. If I go to one of the IT technology events that I go to, like ConnectWise, lots of people recognize me. That's kind of as expected. I work in the IT MSP industry. I actually was been a public speaker even before I was doing YouTube. And so a lot of people know me there. So that's kind of an expected place. But the unexpected places I've been recognized. This is where it gets funny. I was down in New Orleans and we're on Bourbon Street. Me and my wife were on vacation. We're like, let's have some fun. Twice while I was down there, one, this super tall guy, he says, "Hey, Tom Lawrence." And he was a big dude. And I was like, "Hey." And he was from the Netherlands, huge fan, first time in America. And he says there's nothing, he was doing this whole, I want to stop by all the party spots in America. And his first stop was Bourbon Street. And he didn't,
wow.
yeah, it was funny because he recognized me. So we talked for a minute. And what was also funny was he just didn't get the concept of how far away. He goes, "Oh, so you live here?" I was like, "No, I live in Detroit." "Well, that's not far from here." I'm like, "No, that's actually
No,
that's quite a drive." And so we
yeah.
ended up talking about geographies. He didn't have a good grasp on it. It's his first time to America, which I don't know where anything is in the Netherlands. So I mean,
Yeah. Well, I think that's like the meme is like you go to Europe, and if you're going to a country, you can kind of like see all the cities in a country in like a day or two. Like you can drive to them. And so people come to the US and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to see New York City. I'm going to see Los Angeles. I'm just going to drive there." It's what, like 2 or 3 hours? No,
mhm.
absolutely not.
Yeah,
But
locally, I've been recognized a couple times. I made a few friends. One of them happens to I live in the city of Southgate. It's actually where my office is as well. It's a small city about 15 miles south of Detroit. And of all goofy things, I'm riding a electric scooter like some dork, because I'm a dork and I have an electric scooter. I'm cruising down the street, and someone, tinted windows in a Hellcat, rolls her windows down and says, "Yo, Tom." And I was like, "Hey."
uh,
I have no idea who you
yeah,
are. And he's like, "Your videos helped me with my tech career." And me and him have now become good friends. He bought me a beer, and we went over to a bar that was close to where he seen me riding down the road. And he bought
yeah,
me a beer, and that's like 2 years ago we became friends. I He can't talk completely about where he works, but I thought about having him come on anonymously, because he doesn't just have a career in cybersecurity. He works in the Fortune 1000 space. So I don't want to narrow down where he
hmm,
works. He's the head of security for over 200,000 endpoints. He does
that's a
the
lot.
SOC stuff, does all kinds of fun cybersecurity things, but he started by watching my videos, and he went from a
Wow.
factory worker at an automotive factory to watching tech videos, then going and following a tech career. But I was kind of like a weird catalyst. He had no idea that I lived so close to him. So
Really? Yeah,
yeah,
that
so
is
overall, it's been
crazy.
kind of cool. Most of my interactions, I have not had a single bad interaction with people who have stopped by my office and said hi to me. So I've been always thrilled and kind to anyone who says hi.
Yeah. I've I was like when I had like I think I don't know 10,000 subs. I was Me and my wife would joke. I was like, "How many subs before the first time I get like in public? Someone's like, 'Hey, you have a YouTube channel. I know you.'" And I can't remember how far it was, but like I was selling my old circ on Facebook Marketplace or something, Craigslist, and I met up with the guy and I started talking to him when we met. And he's like, "You sound familiar. Do you like what? Do I know you from somewhere?" I'm like, I have a YouTube channel." He's like, "Oh, I know you." And he pulled out his phone and you see like RaidOwl and it said like all my videos watched, like the last like 5 of them. He's like, "Yeah, I know you. I just watched your videos like the other night. This is crazy."
It's
Huh.
fun.
Well, cool. This is the first time I've ever been recognized. And then at CES, some dude I was at the Real Link booth and he's like, "Hey man, I love your YouTube channel." I was like, "Oh, thank you."
That's
At,
awesome.
at every, at all the booths at the Real Link booth, the home security booth, but cool. So a
Yeah.
handful of times, but it's been, yeah, no, nothing weird or unpleasant at
Now,
all.
the when I was at Vid Summit, do you know who Legal Eagle is? The channel that does like the legal
Hmm.
breakdown videos. He's pretty famous.
Yep.
He did a talk there. Great guy. He was super gracious and hung out afterwards. My wife is a huge fan of him, so she's just like, "Oh, we got to meet him. Devin's so nice." I'm like, "Whatever. I know you just want to shake
Yeah.
his hand." But
Yeah.
what's funny is when we got up to him, I complimented him. I said, "You do such a good job. I like watching his videos because he does that good job of threading the needle of layman terms of understanding law, blah, blah, blah." So I just, want to say hi and thank him and stuff like that. Well, he said he liked Ubiquiti a lot and gestured towards, he goes, you can make a good career out of it and talking about this because maybe I'm building a new house and I have to watch some Ubiquiti videos. And he went and reached out and shook my hand. I was like,
Yeah.
my wife was not having it. She's like, no way he knows you. I'm like, lawyers say things on purpose. He didn't call me up by my name, but he said when he said Ubiquiti videos, that didn't come out of a lawyer's mouth randomly.
Right.
I was like, Devin watches my channel, and she's just like,
Yeah.
you're not that famous. Your head's too
Yeah.
big
He
now.
knows me. Yeah.
That was my one
Someone
time I
in
knew a celebrity
chat.
cared about what I do.
Yeah.
Another
Someone in
YouTube
chat
celebrity.
asked, I asked RaidOwl how many random tech YouTubers he ran into randomly at CES. He said at least one. Can we get the final count? So I met Jeff Geerling, which was awesome. Got to meet him in person the first time. We had dinner. It was nice. Got to talk about YouTube and things outside of YouTube. It was nice. Ones that I saw, but didn't actually talk to, I saw Potato Jet. So anybody out there who's big into cameras,
Yeah, his
Potato
videos are
Jet.
great. Yeah.
I love Potato Jet because it's funny because I didn't even see him. Because me and my wife were there. She was my camera woman, and we were walking, we were like leaving some booth, and I was like checking the map or something, and she's like, that's your camera. I'm like, what? She's like, your camera guy from YouTube. That's him. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, Potato. So I turned around and I see him walking with his wife and his crew. I was like, oh, cool. The first big YouTuber I've seen. And then I saw Bitwit walking through the Venetian. He was on I didn't say anything, but I saw him, and I think that was the only YouTubers that I know of that I saw. Yeah. But I didn't with big YouTubers or anything.
There's, as they're all there, but I think some of them probably get some special access backstage with the.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, a lot of that. I mean, there comes to be a challenge. I mean, I really appreciate the high quality, high production value that you get out of someone like MKBHD. I don't watch all of his videos because not all of them are interesting to me. But when he does a video and it's not a topic I want, I top notch production quality. But I gotta imagine there's just a ton of people that kind of, because he's up there at that upper echelon. Or even being Linus at a tech event, everyone probably just mobs him.
Oh, it's funny. We were riding the escalator up to something, doesn't matter. And the people in front of us were like, hey man, I saw Linus walking. My guy, you saw Linus? And they were geeking out about seeing Linus at CES. I was like, I didn't get to see Linus. What the hell, man?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I would watch his videos from CES, and it was funny because some of the booths he was in, like Asus or MSI or whatever, they're when I went in, they're just packed with people making videos. He's in it, the doors are closed, and it's just him looking at the stuff. I'm like, okay, you got the special, come in and we'll close the doors and no one else can be in here treatment.
Yeah. The nice thing about all the people I've interacted with in the YouTube space, especially the tech space, none of them are putting on an act at all. Jeff Geerling is, I've went to dinner with him as well. He's as nice in person as he seems in his videos. He's just Jeff.
100%.
And
yep.
Yeah, we're all just kind of nerds on that. Even the one thing I'll say for Network Chuck, there's some people, hey, give it a take. You either love or don't love the fact that he's got this really hyper 10 camera switches level of presentation. He brings a lot of enthusiasm to it. But if you watch his live streams, that is the real Network Chuck, so to speak. He's calmer. Mm-hmm. He's still enthusiastic about what he does and everything else. He's really nice when you talk to him in person. He's not as caffeinated. We'll just call it that way. His videos, he has that really hyped up way he presents things with a lot of excitement to two different cameras, and he just kind of spins around.
That's why it has over 1 million subs. People like that. It's polarizing. I guess people hate it or they really like it. So.
Right. It is what it is. It takes an ecosystem of people to get people in tech. Not everybody learns the same way. The number of people, my favorite YouTube comment, and I've had this happen a lot. Tom, all you do is read manuals and regurgitate information I could have read myself. I was like, yes, I'm making a career out of it. Because some people don't like reading.
Why are you here then?
Yeah, why are you here then?
You could have read the manual.
Do you think I wasn't going to read the manual?
Yeah. That's...
Yeah. That's how it goes. This is a good question. Hi, Tom Brett. Really old Windows VM running some legacy line of business software that can't be migrated, but I'd like it to get offsite. Is there a VPS that let me import an image from Proxmox? I don't think so, but trying to get
Is
something
there a
into,
VPS that?
yeah, if you want to like post it somewhere in some virtual private cloud server, there's not usually going to be a one-to-one like, hey, extract this as an OVA file over to here. Some of them may support it. Um, it we deal with, and I just did that whole data center tour. Stick something in a colo, stick a Proxmox in a colo, and set it up yourself and put it there. One of the things that not everybody realizes, and I pointed this out when I did my data center video as well, they have quarter racks. So if you don't need a full rack, you can get like these small mini racks, so you can put a few things in the cloud because they live better there, but running on your own hardware. Yeah, I mean, for running like some old Windows VM somewhere, there's not any other than using some backup utility, not any easy way to get it over there.
I was gonna say, is that like a benefit of running like more established, like VMware or
Yeah.
something? Like we can run when you run you create like a disk to put your VM on. It's like a specific type, like a VHI or a VHD
Yep.
or whatever the shit kind of proprietary. I don't know if proprietary is the right word, but their specific type of,
Right.
I guess, file system or whatever you want to, where you can just migrate it super easy to other things. I don't think Proxmox has anything like that, right? It's just
No.
a,
No,
yeah.
you could. The other option I've told people to use things like Clonezilla or your favorite cloning
Mm-hmm.
software, Acronis, because it's Windows. And then you can usually upload a custom boot image and then just transfer that file up there, restore it to the VPS server, and there it can live. Some crutch, cranky old OS. So
Yeah.
there's so many, we work with manufacturing on the business side of the house. So we have things. I still have one client, kind of client. They're not actively managed, but they do have an OS2 system. It still works.
We in my five, I think a couple of years ago, there was a really old like it was like VB6 application that it was doing something that has been running for forever, and they were like, okay, we need to upgrade the server that it's on. They're like, well, we don't know where the server is. So they spent like probably 2 weeks trying to find where this application was running on what server. Turns out it was one of our coworkers' desk, like under his desk. It was just like a random PC just chilling there. And it's been there for years. And it took this team, they like assembled like an ad hoc to find this server. And he was like, oh yeah, that's right here. They were like, what the hell? Okay, you can't do that anymore. So
Yeah.
as of now, I don't think there is, but I could be wrong.
The the this feeds part of the I'm not even gonna say that. We'll just say that Tom works in the automotive space a lot. Well, I don't want to get in trouble for talking about things that I may not be able to talk about some of our clients. But this is one of those things where you wouldn't believe the scale of operation that a database, someone put a laptop in a closet and it ran a database synchronization tool to take what products were made for the day at a company that was, we'll say, publicly traded and
Hmm.
synchronize that with the purchase order system that then got all the deliveries managed to all the other tier one suppliers. And when we were sorting it out, they were arguing because we thought it should be something more robust than a laptop that the previous who came up with the idea of how to get these databases to sync with EDI was like, hey, we just do it in here. All the inventory gets downloaded onto this laptop and then synchronized. It was running Windows 7. Oh, by the way, long after Windows 7 had expired, in case
Yeah, I
you're
was gonna
wondering.
say that's
This isn't like an
past its
old story.
lifespan.
Yeah, this isn't even an old
Yeah,
story. And we're just like, they were arguing with us about the cost of like fixing all this and migrating because no one knows how it was set up. So we're gonna have to try to figure out how to reverse engineer it. And I'm like, well, there's no documentation, but it works. That was their answer. I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, but it stopped working for a little while, which caused the panic. And when we fixed a minor problem, we were shocked to find that this is how it's being done, but also it shouldn't be done this way.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure there's so many night stories because I work in IT for a pretty large company, so our IT department is massive, and I'm sure there's so many stories that I don't know about and servers and things going on that I have yet to experience. But luckily, I've only seen one like nightmare instance of some legacy software that has almost caused some serious issues. I was there. We got hit with a crypto worm. Must have been 4 years ago at this point. And I remember our our on-site IT guy came in and he's like, "Everyone, turn off your computers, go home." Like, what's going on? He's like, "Just turn them off, everything turned off." And so everyone like kind of turned off, and then it came out like what happened, and it was a big catalyst to a new approach to security. Let's say that. So just say our security team has quadrupled in size since then. So
The
yeah.
I did I I can talk kind of vaguely about this. I was called. I'm not a normally I don't do incident response. That's going to be covered by the insurance company. But I knew the IT people, personal friends that work for a relatively local municipality. They've known me for a while. We've just go out and have a drink once in a while and BS about things. So when they had an incident, they called me and weren't exactly sure what the next step was. And I'm like, well, first tell everyone to shut up because you're a city, you got breached and you're ransomware. So first, don't say anything. I don't know what the right thing to say is, but nothing seems better. Call your lawyers, call your incident, call your thing. But what my favorite part of the story is though, is I help them kind of triage it and just calm people down, including like the mayor who's like, how does this happen? And, things like that. But the funny part was, the reason they didn't get to the really goody stuff was because it was all running Novell still, which also shocked me. They had an entire operating Novell. This was like only 2 years ago that this happened. And I was like, that's amazing that this works. And also they didn't know how to encrypt it. So it all was saved. It was just like,
Yeah.
which
There's
happened again
some
recently, was in the news. Some bank in China got hit with ransomware, and the reason they said they were recovered is because they were unable to infect their Novell network that they still run. And everyone's like, Novell runs your bank?
yeah. If you're running something obscure that no one knows how it works and how to get in, then maybe that's like a meme about driving a manual in America. It's
No
the
one can
best
steal it.
car. Yeah, no one can steal it because no one knows how to drive it.
I do
Perfect.
miss that about, like, my Tesla's fun, but I had a stick shift before I had the Tesla. I love a stick shift. I like manual transmission cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't steal a manual car because I've never driven one. So your car is safe around me.
In case anyone's running, I have some Traverse City whiskey. What do you have today?
Just some casual Buffalo Trace.
Oh, Buffalo Trace is still good though.
I like it. Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite sub, like $35
Yeah,
bottles.
Buffalo
I'll be
Trace and
honest, I'm kind
Angel's
of
Envy.
over bourbon at this point. I went through a huge bourbon phase like a few years ago, and I got to the point now to where I'm like, man, there's no point of buying anything over like $35, $40. It all is like burnt oak. Some are slightly sweeter. So now I'm just like, man, I'll go with like Elijah Craig, a, a Buffalo Trace, like something easy, something
Yeah,
cheaper.
I mostly do that. Traverse City is in Michigan, so I'm
Yeah,
drinking one
something
of my
local.
local Michigan ones. It's an apple one, and so it's not bad. But I've had a lot of different ones. Now I do like a Scotch occasionally, like a little bit of it, because
Hmm.
I like the peaty ones, as they I guess is what they refer to them as. But you're right. There's a diminishing return for that expensive bottle. And one of my clients, so my wife, for my birthday, weird coincidence that happened. Her friend got a job somewhere and was celebrating that her friend who worked with her became her friend who doesn't work with her, but they went to a bar to celebrate her new job, and her boss showed up. I didn't know. I don't know. I didn't go to this party. But her friend, turns out, ended up working for one of my big clients. And when the boss showed up, my wife started talking, and he recognized recognized her for one reason or another and said, "Oh yeah, your husband does all the IT for my company." And she goes, "Oh yeah." And they start talking about whiskey. And she says, "I really want to, it's too much money, but I want to give him something nice. I want to give him some grandpappies, but it's like $2,000 a bottle. And I don't spend that kind of money on my husband." So he
Yeah.
says, "I'll have one dropped off at your house tomorrow." And so I didn't
Nice.
even know this. The guy has cases of it. Now, I've been to the guy's house. He's got a 6-car garage full of exotic cars, cases of grandpappy, completely not surprising. But the fact that he just dropped one off at my house the next day, and my wife went and got it, and then she gave it to me, and she's like, "I got this for you." I was like, I think there's a
Wow.
story behind this.
Yeah.
But then we shared the
What
grandpappies.
year?
Yeah, we shared the
Was it
grandpappy.
a
I think it's a
12?
12 year. Yeah, I think it's a 12.
12 year? Yeah.
It was good. It was good. But I thought it was really good, but it wasn't so good that I feel compelled to go spend $2,000 on
Yeah,
whiskey.
it's
I'm
like
like, no,
huge
I ain't doing
diminishing
this again. Like,
returns.
yeah,
That's what
we
I've
actually held
noticed in
on to it.
bourbon.
Yeah, we held on to it when I got it on my birthday, and we celebrated when we merged the companies together, because all the people, we're all co-owners of the new company, and so we all celebrated with grandpappies after the merger. So that was where that bottle went. I figured we had to. I wanted to just not taste it, but I wanted to use it for some reason. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like I feel the same way with like wines. It's like you get a nice one, not that it's so good that it's worth the money, but it's kind of like good thing to use to celebrate or like mark a special occasion. It's just fun. Like it's more of an entertainment thing. Like I don't know how to describe it, but I
yeah,
totally understand.
yeah, it's like the novelty of being able to pour a bunch of it for all the people, and we
Yeah,
had
it's
everyone.
fun.
Everyone was at my house when we cracked open the bottle. We just had like kind of big gig gathering.
Yeah.
Um, COBOL is definitely not dead. I love that Veronica talks about this, man. She's a COBOL programmer. Veronica explains if you haven't
Yeah.
followed her channel, but man, she definitely. I've talked to her personally a couple times, and yeah, all of her COBOL stories are always wild. Just all the different companies using it and everything else. It's pretty neat.
I've heard of people using COBOL. I've never seen in person anyone using COBOL. So that
I haven't
I don't
had
know
to
what that
witness
means, but
COBOL, but back to like working in the automotive space, it's one of those things. Automotive companies have been around a long time, and especially if you're dealing with the Ford, GM, and Chrysler. Well, whatever they're called now. Chrysler has a new name. I keep calling them Chrysler. I know they have some other name from the company that bought them, some investment company, but you run into all kinds of this old things running these manufacturing companies. That's just so common. So I run into adjacent stuff. It's actually not COBOL. It's usually AS400 kind of stuff that I run into,
I
except
I
for
don't
the
know that we
OS2 guy.
have. Yeah, I don't know that we have any crazy super legacy stuff hanging around anymore. Our company, but since I've been there, we've gone through so many like modernization efforts and those big corporate downstream. We're updating the company, we're updating how we do. We're in the middle of one now where like half of our shit's in the cloud, half of it's locally stored on our servers. We're running like 5 different types of databases. So when customers come to me and they're like, "Hey, can I get this data?" I'm like, "God damn it. I don't, I got to find out which database we have it in, which location. Do I even have access?" So I'm like, "Guys, I don't care if we move to the cloud, if we throw everything in AWS or Azure or whatever, just pick one." Like, I'm so tired of trying to manage and wrap my head around all these different modernization efforts you guys are going through. And it's just, it's annoying.
Yeah, when you get it spread across, like, hey, let's come up with this bespoke solution and this one and this one. Like, someone has to
Mm-hmm.
manage all these. Where are all these
Exactly.
things? Yeah,
That's
that's
part of being in a massive company where you have one group that comes up with a good idea and or you have a bunch of groups that come up with different ideas and their managers and directors are like, "Yeah, let's roll with it. Let's roll with it." And then by the time it rolls up, you have 5 different things that are doing the same thing. So yeah, it's something. Say that.
yeah. This is something I'm looking at. We want to deploy it ourselves. slowly. We're 6 months past the merger, and we got a lot of things done. But what's not done is some of the lab stuff. We want to set up Netbox to auto document all of our labs. So now that we have 2 locations, we have our Southgate office and our Toledo office. We're building new labs, and they're not well documented. So our employees kind of have free reign to do what they want in the labs, which also means there's a lot of random in our labs. So
Yeah.
Netbox, I don't know if you've ever used it, but it's kind of cool because it can
Mm-mm.
auto document as you create things. You can tie it into some of your infrastructure tools, including like XCP&G. I think there's a plugin for Proxmox as well. As you spin up VMs, it can document where those VMs are, what they are, and kind
Oh,
of,
wow.
yeah, it's really slick how that works. I know we actually have we literally have a Netbox server, and I don't know where it's at anymore. it's in
Oh,
it's in
there
the
it all ties
infrastructure
back, dude.
somewhere.
It's under someone's desk, dude, running
It's
on a
under,
laptop.
I wonder if I have
Yeah.
a picture of what we let me find one of my Toledo pictures of our Toledo office. It's the Toledo office is the newest office, but also the building took a long time to update. I don't have a picture of the basement. I'll find one. But the it's a hodgepodge. There's some things going on there. And
Yeah, it's
yeah, I was
funny
trying to find a
that
photo to share.
we
Yeah.
have such a wide I feel like we had such a wide variety of like storage and server rooms at our, 'cause we have our main data centers that are pretty hardcore. But then at the building I worked at, we had like this just random, I feel like it was almost like an ad hoc server room for our like a local IT guy who I'm pretty sure dabbled in some type of uppers before coming into work every day because he was way too excited for like 6 a.m. every morning. And it was funny because like one of the first times I met him, they're like, "Oh, so and so is coming down to help you use your new laptop," and everyone started kind of like giggling and laughing, and I'm like, what's going on here?" And the guy comes like rushing in. He's like, "Hey man, yeah, we're gonna get your laptop set up, man. We're gonna do it real quick. Yeah, what's your name, man? What do you do?" I'm just like, "Oh my god, you're the IT guy?" He's like, "Yeah, come follow me. We got to do such stuff." He's like running like 3 stairs at a time up. I'm like, "Dude, we got an elevator. Can we not? Like this is 6 floors up. What are we doing here?" And we go into like his office, and, like a hodgepodge of server racks and shit laying around. I'm like, this is not what I expected. So there's probably random shit running still. He's retired since, but
Yeah,
I'm sure
so
there's stuff in his room still
I
running.
was reasonably organized with some of my lab stuff. And I didn't have too many legacies I was supporting. So my company started in 2003. So I had 20 years of things that I dragged along. And then with CNWR, they've been in business since 1992. So over like 30 years that they've been around. And so when we merged the two together, and also all the clients we support and everything else, I I've made a project called Where Are the Bodies Buried? And so we had to find and update all the bodies that were buried. But I also started discovering all the CNWR bodies that were buried, which was not bad or anything like that. But also we had 2 or 3 colos of stuff of things. And then we have another special client that we support their essentially data center out of Toledo and manage everything with Chef and Puppet. So we have an entire
Oh
Linux
boy.
team that handles that. Yeah, if you haven't heard those words in a while.
Hmm.
And so there's so much of that we've been slowly. We just shut down. I seen them decommission. One of our colos just finally got decommissioned. We just need to consolidate it. We were just in too many places. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of a fun project. Unfortunately, I was trying to get permission to film in there in one of the colos we were in because we know the people, but didn't work out. I was shocked. I don't know if you see my
Yeah.
data center video, but I was able to do all kinds of deep dive filming inside that data center, along with a full narrative of I got a tour by the guy who
Right.
manages Deft. So he gave me a walkthrough tour and unleashed like just a wealth of knowledge that all I did was follow him around and go wow a lot. Like everyone loves
Yeah.
the
That
video; it's got a lot of
reminds.
views, but it's just me going
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. This is crazy.
that's
That
that's
reminds me
big.
of that. That must have been a year ago at this point where Linus did the Intel Intel factory tour over in Asia. I can't remember where he was,
Yeah.
but he did a factory tour of like Intel, and like I feel like 90% of the video was blurred out. Like anywhere he was, just like blurred out everywhere. I'm just like, yeah, that I would be too nervous to even like bring a camera in somewhere like that. I would just be like, no, I'm going to show something that I shouldn't, and it's not going to be a good time.
Yeah, we with the people over at Deft, I did make an agreement that they could
Israel, that's
audit
right.
the video before I released it, and I had no problem
Mm-hmm.
with that. There was no money exchange hands. It wasn't like a sponsored video. They just wanted to make sure their legal department could pass it. Um, which the thing that got cut out was the funniest thing because the guy was off by a minor digit. He says, "Can you edit that out? Because I said a digit wrong." And I was like, "How did you rattled off all this like a script?" Like, and he
He
was
was
off. I
afraid
go,
of
"Just cut
Nexus,
that part
man.
out." Yeah, the guy was
He was
really into he knew like it was amazing. He could quote the wattage or any obscure detail of any device we touched. There's actually more video that I just didn't feel like fit in. The video was already 30 minutes long, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, I love data center videos, but I don't want to make it too long. Trying to figure out what to cut. I have one more clip that I am going to put back in for how they do data destruction, which is really cool with a giant degausser. That scared me. I think I jumped and there's a bunch of camera like when it's like the degausser goes and goes boing. It's like but definitely fun.
that was so
Yeah, the
I saw your short and your 45 drives, your HL15. I feel
yeah.
like you're like the last creator who hasn't put out a video with it yet. Like we're just waiting for the Tom Lawrence HL15 video.
Yeah, I figured, all right, everyone's gonna run and get theirs done, which is fine. I'm using it and it's backing up all of our data. It's a third copy of all of our data, and it's gonna become a primary copy soon. So I figured, hey, I'll do a long-term review. So I think I was the first or second to get it, and then I immediately put it in production. So now that it's been running for several months, moving data, running our VMs and everything else, I'm going to do a video that's a little bit more like review-ish of, hey, this is what it looks like.
Hmm.
There's dust on it now. It's been running that long.
Yeah, yeah. I think that'll be a good breath of fresh air because yeah, like you said, people get it and it's like, and I feel like that's kind of a thing in YouTube, right? I often get de-incentivized to create content about like newer stuff because I often feel like, well, someone video, like if it's new, someone's gonna make a video about it. So it's like I don't know that I have anything additional to add. Like I know it's a joke, but someone like Discord on my Discord, like, hey, you're gonna review the Apple Vision, what the hell is it called? The
Oh,
Apple augmented,
yeah.
the Vision Pro or whatever the shit it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
I
that,
don't
like I mean, I kind of want to try one, but no, I mean, there's nothing I can add that Marcus Brownlee hasn't already
I,
talked
I
about.
will I will watch. I seen it. I haven't watched it yet, but I put into the watch later queue. I will watch his video on it. But I also
Hmm.
think about it from a more practical standpoint. I can't think of any reason I want to strap something fucking heavy to my face. That's why like
That's the
where
big
does that make
thing.
me better?
It's not comfortable. I mean, my friend were texting about it, and we were both kind of on the same page. Like, yeah, I want to try this, but I can't imagine. Like, I get the novelty and like the cool thing. People are like, oh, like you can sit at your desk and have like, three monitor, like a giant monitor, like this and that. And I'm like, yeah, but I I would use that for probably like 30 minutes to an hour and be like, okay, this is novelty's kind of worn off. Back to my normal working setup. And they're like, oh, but you can like sit on the couch and watch like a big screen TV thing or like a movie. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. Like the novelty is I'm self-aware enough to realize that I'm a terrible impulse buyer. So if I see something cool, I'm like, I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah.
And like the little devil on my shoulder pops up that's like, you don't really need this. I'm like, I know. We know this. We've been doing this our whole lives. And I'll still buy it. This is one that's just like completely like, yeah, even even I'm like, I don't think I can dish out $3,500 for this.
That
It's
does
cool.
feel just excessive for it. Like I fought. 2023 is the year I finally admitted defeat and bought glasses because I didn't want anything on my face, and I just
Yeah.
go, even if it's electronic, I don't want it on my face. I'm not bothered by any look I have with glasses. I was just like, I don't want to have to be dependent on something on my face. It just seemed
Mm-hmm.
annoying, and I'm like, oh, and I did get the Oculus from Facebook, which was novel
Mm-hmm.
for a little bit. I found one space game that was just super cool that I played for a while, but until I got bored with it and then stopped playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
I'll tell you, I had the HTC Vive for a while, and yeah, same thing with you. I tried a bunch of games; they were cool, but yeah, the novelty off. But one that was extremely fun, and the kind of the only thing I miss about VR was keep keep talking or explode.
Yeah, keep talking or explode.
Yeah. That game is so fun in VR.
Yeah,
Like
I've never played that in VR.
that
That
is a
actually does sound pretty
blast.
fun.
Yeah, because when you're diffusing the bomb, it's so much more immersive when you can like grab it and like flip the briefcase up and down. You're actually pressing the buttons. That game was a blast in VR. And someone said VR is good for racing. I actually have a buddy who's really into sim racing, and he just upgraded to an Oculus 3, and he's pumped about it. So he loves his VR for racing and like plane simulation and plane fighting and shit. I tried it once and it made me nauseous. Like I was like, I can't. I immediately got sick. And I don't get motion sick, which was surprising, but I tried his racing game and I was like, yeah, I can't do this. Something about it makes my tummy hurt. But
Um,
I think it's weird that I saw someone tweet. I mean, Twitter's just been nonstop, like Vision Pro stuff, and it's so polarizing. Like anytime Apple releases something, it's either the greatest thing ever or absolute dog shit. And I'm like,
yep.
you guys are in between, right? Like you can acknowledge that it's kind of cool, but also overpriced and maybe not the best thing ever. Like there's kind of an in between, right? Apparently not.
Yeah, one of the things I'll admit is I've been a Linux person. I switched to Linux on the desktop around 2008. So long before it was easy to do. But I gotta
Yeah.
admit, I fully admit my crutch was VirtualBox running Windows in a virtual machine. So I've always, when I've had to do Windows things, I had a Windows system to do it. Um, but coming back all the way to the Apple stuff, I was always really avoided the Apple ecosystem, being that I was a Linux fanboy, open source fanboy. In my open source world of Linux, I started working in Linux, and my first job where I had to do it was 1998. So I was in the early days. I was a mail server admin in Linux back in 98. But swinging
Oh
back
god.
over to the Mac topic, for last year, we had a bunch of clients that had Macs, and some of our tooling had to be tested not just on Mac, which we've been using for a while, but also on the M1 series. So we had to pick one up.
Mm-hmm.
We picked up a client. We prototype things very well before we deploy them at clients. So we're like, all right, let's try all the tools on the M1 Mac. Once we got all the tools done, the MacBook Air was just sitting there doing nothing, which bothered me greatly because I just bought it and it's like, it's not doing anything. So I'm like, yeah, we're done with the project. I'll just take it home. I'll poke at it for a minute. I hate how much I like it. I am
Yeah.
angry at myself for how much I like that MacBook Air. It is my favorite laptop I've ever owned now.
Dude,
And I hate saying that. You're
they
not wrong.
they've gone from
It's such a good
when they
laptop.
were it's their laptops are not touchable right now. When they were still putting Intel chips in laptops, they were in like the overpriced tier. Like that was the meme. Like you can buy an Apple MacBook Pro with this on it for $2,000, or you can buy the Windows version with the same specs for like 1,200. And it was a big meme. And then they came out with their M1 series, their in-house ARM chips. And oh my God, like I was skeptical. I was like, Apple's like first generation, like making their own chips, ARM based. Like this is going to be a painful And then I got an M1 MacBook Air and I was like, what? This is the greatest laptop ever. Like it's so powerful. It's so capable. It's it. And the battery life is insane. I'm like, oh
Yeah,
God,
it's just wild.
these
I sit on
are
my couch with it
so
for
good.
hours. like people ask how I reply to emails as much as I do. So people who do engagement emails or my forum posts, I have thousands and thousands of forum posts, not just my forums. I participate in other forums. I say all the time. I say, honestly, it's me on my couch on my MacBook Air. And when it's nice out, because right now it's really shitty here in the Detroit area. It's just cold out. But I sit outside. I sit on a kitchen table, or I have like an outside picnic area. And yeah, I just sit there and hammer out emails. The keyboard's amazing. The battery life, I'm not plugged in. And then even in the evening, I'll build a little fire pit. I got a gazebo with a fire pit, and I'm sitting on my MacBook Air, just cranking. I'm like, this thing is so light, so easy to use. And I'm like, I charge it like every other day or every couple days.
Yeah,
It is.
nuts.
They're playing a different game. Like there's not there as much as I couldn't spend, and the price is reasonable on it. You can get these MacBook Airs for sub $1,000, depending on your feature set you need. And I can't tell you a $2,000 price tag of a laptop that would beat it. I couldn't even tell you to spend $3,000 of a laptop that would beat it in battery life. And so it drives me nuts.
Yeah, I ran an M1 MacBook Air for a while until I wanted something to edit on, like away from my main desktop. And it wasn't that the M1 couldn't handle editing, like it really could. I just wanted a bigger screen. So now I'm rocking the 16-inch M1 Pro MacBook Pro. And that thing, like I challenge you to name like an AMD or Intel chip that's two generations back that is still in terms of productivity.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But so like I'd say Apple's by far makes the best laptops right now. Their iPad untouchable in the tablet world. The iPhone, which I run, I will admit there's nothing special about an iPhone anymore. Like it's pretty mid. They've kind of like almost killed off. They have their Mac Pros that I don't think there's anything special there. But they're little like Mac Minis. I think I've kicked around the idea of getting one because to try, what is it? Asai? What is the M1?
Yeah, that
ARM-based?
Sony, the Linux version for it. I think that's coming along well, but it's not. I don't think it's quite there yet. One thing I'll say is like Jay from Learn Linux TV. He edits on. I think he's got the newest M3. Whatever the top Mac is, one you just said. He edits on that, and I've been over his house. Jay lives really close to me. He's about a half hour away. It is so buttery smooth when he edits on there. DaVinci Resolve runs so well on a Mac.
Especially if you're on ProRes, because those M2 and M3 chips have the super fancy like built-in ProRes encoders and decoders. Like, man, if you're shooting anything in ProRes, you're gonna. I run on an Intel 13900K and 4090 system, which is like pretty much top tier, like Windows consumer system you're going to be running. And yeah, like I shoot ProRes 422 and it just rips through that. But if I import something that's like, H.264, H.265, it's not really edit friendly. And anybody in the chat's probably like, what the hell are you talking about? But if you edit videos, then you know. But it can struggle with that. But I've heard the M3 can just tear through like H.264 and H.265 too. So I'm on the fence about snagging like a M2 Ultra like Mac Studio, but I don't know. I want to try one so bad. I've had them in my cart like 3 or 4 different times.
Yeah, I'm still not the biggest fan of the Mac ecosystem, but I also look at it more like it's a fancy the MacBook Air to me is like a fancy Chromebook because I'm popping open my browser, I'm replying to everybody. But oddly, some of the native tools I use because I load Homebrew on it, some of the open source tools, like I use Logseek. I love Logseek. Works wonderful on there. That's what I started using for all my note taking and journaling. It's kind of cool that they have Mac support on there. Matter of fact, when I was trying several different Markdown tools for editing stuff, it's like no problem. And as far as the command prompt goes, I have a jump box I use anyways. That's Linux. So I open up the terminal on my Mac. I SSH to my jump box. I tmux attached to my session. Everything's there where I left
Mhm.
it. I may as well be running Linux, and so it doesn't really matter at that point. So it really hasn't been much of a pain. And then, of course, the native apps, like I have Slack on there because I use that for work, and some of those tools are all going to be working fine on Mac. It just makes an easy. Yeah, like I said, I hate how much I like it because I have to. I still
I,
customized it a bit. I put some stickers on it. Like I made it look not like an
yeah.
Apple anymore.
Oh
My
yeah.
wife
I
makes
kind
fun
of.
of me
Oh,
for it. She goes, "I thought you hate Apple."
I'll joke, but I can't actually show it now because my webcam's down. I was going to show off the stickers on my Dell because I'm like joking in my videos that yeah, this Dell used to run Windows, but now you can see since I on it, that means it's a Linux machine because I've decked it out with stickers all over the front. But obviously, I can't show that because
Because you got
my
your potato
webcam
webcam you got
pooped his
using on it.
pants. But yeah, I often joke that I like accidentally found myself in the Apple ecosystem because I have an iPad, I have a MacBook, I have an Apple Watch, I have an iPhone, but I never had Apple stuff. And the first thing I got was like an iPhone. I was like, oh, this is cool. You know, it's an iPhone. I got it in high school, and that's what I've had since. But then I was like, oh, the cool thing to do, like when you get into college, is get a MacBook, right? College kids have MacBooks.
Yeah.
So I got a MacBook. I had that for like a year or two, and I went back to Windows. I was like, I don't really use this. And then I wanted to start just practicing with developing iOS apps and using Swift like natively to develop. So I was like, all right, I'll just go back to Mac, and I bought a MacBook to use that. And then I was like, oh, the Apple Watch is kind of cool. So I bought one of those. And then like I had some minuscule reason to get an iPad. And all of a sudden I look down and I'm like, wait, I'm in the Apple ecosystem. Like they've got me. They've successfully lured me in and built the walls around me. But I still don't use like someone just talked about like iCloud stinks on Windows. I hate iCloud. For how supposedly user friendly it is and awesome to sync between all your Mac stuff, I still don't use it. I think it's ass. Like the internet is just annoying. So I still don't use iCloud, but yeah, I've stumbled into the Apple ecosystem and I'm kind of just sitting in it. Like I have no reason that here I am.
Yeah. It just kind of, and if you get, like I said, being in the creator space, like once you realize how smooth some of the editing stuff works, kind of like, oh crap, this
Mm-hmm.
rivals my expensive machine I built for editing that I probably spent more money on.
Yeah. And that was one of the reasons, not well, because I switched from, I used to Premiere Pro, Adobe for editing, and um, it runs on Mac and, uh, but Adobe doesn't run on Linux. And when I did my Linux challenge last year, that was one of the big things was like, I don't have an editing software. I was like, oh, DaVinci supposedly runs on Linux, but I don't really know how to use it. So yeah, and I
Yeah.
eventually just bit the bullet to resolve.
Yeah, Resolve. I really am happy I moved to Resolve. Where do you back up your photos? Me and Jay just did on the Learn Linux. No, sorry, not Learn Linux. The Home Lab Show podcast. We just talked about backups. Backblaze is my preferred one. Do you have a preferred one, Brett?
So I, I have such a stupid. It's so weird because I just wrote the script for some of what I'm about to discuss, but I have two separate like photo solutions. So for like my photography, like when I do, I guess my camera's not next to me right now. But when I shoot like actual photography stuff, I load everything into Lightroom. That's one Adobe product I can't live without.
Lightroom is solid
So
for photo
I
stuff.
love Lightroom is so good. Like Lightroom and Photoshop are amazing. Premiere
Yep.
is ass. But I load everything in Lightroom and I have that locally stored. That is stored on my TrueNAS server, which gets backed up to my Synology server, which then gets backed up remotely to another Synology server. But my phone photos get synced up with Nextcloud. So all photos load in with Nextcloud, and then those are stored same way, kind of on the TrueNAS system, backed up to Synology, and then backed up again. So Lightroom and Nextcloud, I guess, are my answer.
Yeah, I recommend Backblaze to people. My actual solution that Tom is using is the fact that Tom has buildings that are 45 miles apart. So
Hmm.
we have storage servers at each of them. So I just back up to
Yeah,
and I'm at another location. My studio is actually at my house, and then I can back up things to my local office, and then I can replicate them again to my other office that's another hour away.
exactly.
But if you
Yeah.
don't have 3 offices, Backblaze is cheaper than having 3 offices.
Is like they're the only one that does like a static price for like a single system. I know they do it on Windows and Mac because they can get away not having to back up like a Linux server that's housing like a petabyte of data,
Yeah.
and they'll just like ignore what mounted drives and stuff. So I think it's for cheap if you're just looking to back up like your personal machines. I know it's super cheap there. I don't know what their pricing is for like terabyte
Um,
per terabyte, but
if you use like TrueNAS with a B2 server with Backblaze, it's cheap too. So they're probably still one of the more cost-effective places that's natively integrated with your TrueNAS. Or I believe if you use Hyper Backup, there's a Backblaze option inside of Synology too. But
I think there is.
but if you use Synology, their C2 service is really reasonably priced too.
Yeah, I looked
We've
at that
recommended that to a lot of
briefly.
clients.
I had a free trial for it and I messed with it. And it was super, obviously, like everything in Synology is pretty seamless. I will give them a ding on. I feel like they have so many apps that do the same thing that it can get overwhelming.
The
Like
Venn diagram
if
of calling things active backup, but having different functions, but
exactly, yeah,
overlapping.
active backup for client,
Yeah.
active backup for business, hyper backup, rsync, like all these different ways of like backing up your stuff and restoring it. I'm like, let's just like pick one, just kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
So
Make one called super backup that just does all of it in one
yeah,
app.
super mega hyper backup. Just call it.
Super
I don't
mega
care
hyper
what you call
backup.
it. Yeah,
We're helping them with
just
their product
one.
names.
Yeah. I mean I love my Synology systems, and it's it reminds me of the annoying situation that I'm sure you found yourself in a lot as a content creator, where you use something and you genuinely like it and they want to sponsor you. So you create sponsored content and people are like, you're just saying that because I'm like, no, I've used this. I actually like it, which is why I part them
It's
to
so hard.
sponsor this. Yeah,
It's so hard to thread
it's,
that needle. And
it is.
this is like, it's a big YouTuber challenge. There's just so much that goes into the production of what we do. I'm lucky enough that I sponsor myself because YouTube, I unabashedly and unapologetically said, "Hey, hire us for a project." Like that is
Yeah.
how I kind of look at the sponsorship. My channels is kind of self sponsorship, but the reality is, there's good amount of hiring that comes in. But sometimes I need some extra revenue because, especially since I split things, there's still the revenue that has to support Tom Lawrence, the YouTube creator, and yeah, so I do some sponsored content. I've always been clear about I only take a few of them, but it is a pain, especially because I've not taken sponsorship from at all from Netgate, despite the number of times I'm called a paid shill for Netgate because I use a lot of pfSense. I'm like, no, I commercially use this product. I've never had
Right.
any money exchange hands. Same thing with 45 Drives. Out the exclusive is they've sent me like that HomeLab 15 and some other servers, but my company spent $700,000 just last year with 45 Drives. Like that's money towards them, not sponsorship. Like
Yeah.
we spent with them. That's how many 45 Drive servers we
Yeah. This is the
bought.
opposite.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
opposite of
They've made more
sponsorship.
money
They
off
did
me.
that.
Yeah.
We I did a video and I talked about one of another petabyte of storage that we put in for a client with 45 Drives. Someone's like, "Oh, more sponsored show content." I'm like, "This isn't sponsored. I
This
spent
is legit.
$60,000 on that server, just that one."
Yeah. Yeah. It's frustrating. Like,
It is, it is,
and
and
I
I know
know,
45 Drives would probably sponsor me if I want to say I know it's kind of a circle. We're a reseller, but my videos bring in more, and sometimes it brings them directly clients that don't necessarily go through me, but I'm like, "It's worth it." Like, we get, I'm working on to figure out I think I got permission now. They're a studio, their primary client is someone you might have heard of called Netflix, and we
oh,
built all the
so
storage backend for them. We designed their architecture for their networking, their servers, and it's all 45 drives. Like all these people that do these editing for the things you see on Netflix, they do the color grading and stuff like that. So it's kind of a cool. The owner, I might be able to get him like in on the video because he found me from my YouTube channel, full disclosure, and we helped re-engineer
That's
things. And
crazy.
yeah, it's so cool working with the scale they operate at with editors. And I've learned a lot about the back end editing industry of movies inadvertently just by talking to them. It's been really fascinating. They have a lot of interesting procedures they have around video. If you work for Sony Entertainment, Warner Brothers, whatever, a big blockbuster movie company, they have extremely strict policies around which editor edited which frames and when. They have check-in processes because if a frame of the next superhero movie gets leaked somewhere, they know what editor was working on it at what time. And that is all very, very tracked in a very interesting way. The entertainment industry reserves the right to audit all these independent editors at any time. They can surprise audit them, and they want background checks on people. It's kind of like, it's really a strange world of things they want. They've got strict door access for things to get into editing rooms. Like data doesn't leave this place. It's really it's really strict and locked down. It's very secure. I was impressed with the level of security.
Yeah, it's like, it reminds me when I got an internship and I had to go work at a nuclear facility, and I've never seen anything like in real life security wise like that. Like, holy crap. Like, just to step foot in, I had to go through this background check, and I had to do a behavioral test. It was like a 250 question multiple choice behavioral test. And I'm convinced it was like, if you can get through this without going insane because you're doing a 250
you get the job.
question. Yeah. And some of the questions were like, have you ever thought about killing? I'm like, okay, like what? Like, who's going to answer yes on this? Like, is that just a immediate red flag? Like, oh, well, that was easy. You're not coming to this nuclear facility. Like, what? So I can imagine like that level of just security going on, especially with tons of dollars, because, obviously nuclear is different. It's not just about money, and it's about safety and government stuff. But when you're talking about millions and millions of dollars that are on the line, I'm sure they're not skimping when it comes to making sure none of that stuff gets leaked, which
they're very, very strict on that. But it's fun. It's amazing how much this stuff runs all on 45 drive servers. So
and they're not like a super big company, right? Like,
no,
but
I mean,
I don't, I
the
can't
size
tell.
and
I mean,
scale
I know they're not like massive, but they have some clients, it seems like.
Yeah, there's a write-up in Forbes on them. I get mentioned in the write-up in Forbes, my first Forbes mention. Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool. They talked about YouTuber Tom Warren. So I'm like, oh, look. I told my wife, I'm like, I'm in Forbes. She's like, shut up. my wife is not having any of it, but
I would say that all the time. If I was in a Forbes article, I would wear that on my name tag.
The article is about 45 Jis and about some of that. And they talk about the companies they work with, and which are some of the companies we work with because of the 45 Jis relationship we have. But they're really kind of punching above their weight. If you look at the fact that they're not the scale and scope of some of the massive companies, but they're in these niche places. And us working in automotive space, I got to film a little bit of us racking drives at a place. I just had to block out all the client names, but it's in the automotive space. I'm in the Detroit area, and we just installed 2 petabytes of 45 drive servers at an automotive company, and that is how that works. That's it's wild, but there's not anything for the budget they have, which is still a huge budget. It just best bang for the buck to do some of the data analytics they have for doing design and engineering.
Yeah. So what, I guess, in on the 45 drive side. So the big thing that I've seen, not just on my video, but on every single person who's released an HL15 video, is I could build this for half the price. What is your immediate thoughts and response to that? Because I've
I
gotten that so many times.
Yeah, my like immediate reaction is, I mean, I can stick a pile of hard drives. I can build some type of random backplane and kind of cobble together with duct tape some type of solution, but it doesn't have that fit and finish that my clients appreciate. When they look at, and it's funny because when I have this video, let me pull this picture up real quick here. It's just kind of a fun picture, and because you can see what I'm doing in the picture. Let's see here. It's a recent one. I'll pull it up because it kind of gives some context to what we're doing inside of this mini data center at a local place. And we're racking up some drives, but you can really see the fit and finish here of what we're doing. Uh, there. So this picture makes it easy to see. This is one of my staff. So she was excited because she's works in our tech sector, but doesn't necessarily get to put hands on hardware. So I was like, hey, Erica, just go ahead and load these up. She's like, how do they load up? I'm like, it's really simple. You just load the drives in straight. So she's just loading them in. But one of the things I'm doing here is holding covers over the fact that we have, see the other 45 drivers here. There's also this machine here. That's a super micro. I did a video on this machine. It's a $150,000 server with 1.5 terabytes of RAM. But these 45 drive servers, this is a rack and there's a rack behind her that's getting more of them. The thing I'm holding it over is we've branded and logoed these with all the company logos on them.
Mm-hmm.
So the company comes in and sees all these servers racked. 2 petabytes of storage is what they have now, a little over 2 petabytes. And it's all branded with their name. The fit and finish, these go in really nice. They love the fact that these are so, like if they had a problem, they can just see all the drives, pull the lid, see the serial numbers. It slides in and out. It's so much nicer than even the Dell equipment that's adjacent to it. Matter of fact, one more piece of equipment that's in there. I'm trying to remember the name of this piece of equipment. This white server is there's another company that makes them. There's these white servers that are filled with NVIDIA cards. That's what this one has in it as well. But they like the stuff that we brought them better. And I thought that was just kind of cool. But back to my response. It's the fit and finish, the quality of it, the thought process they went into creating the backplanes. When you have 60 drives, when you start them up, if you turn on all 60 drives at once, that's going to fry your power supply. Drives have
Yeah.
a peak wattage start time, but a low wattage, very low wattage, substantially lower runtime. They're using like 4 and 5 watts when they're running. So the staggering that they have built into all those little controllers that kind of stagger the drive startup, all that little thought process that went into it, even if it's only a 15 drive system, substantially improves the usability and feeling you get when using one of these. So I think Wendell said it best because I watched his video on the HL15 and he just said, this is a case that's going to out survive the drives and the motherboard a few times before you're over it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're going to have it for years to come. And that's how I look at it. I think they're filling a good niche for home lab users, which home lab is a weird term because there's the budget. Hey, I'm not into the tech industry. I don't make a lot of money. There's my friend
Mm-hmm.
working in a large cybersecurity company who makes, well, about 200K a year. And he just says, Tom, tell me the best thing to buy. And I'm like, I need a storage server. I'm like, oh, buy an HL15. He goes, $2,000. Cool. Buy. He just doesn't. He's
Yeah.
like, I make a lot of money. I'm going to buy the fanciest thing
Right.
and, build his home lab like that. That is a pretty big niche of people who want a really high quality product. They're not going to be tinkering with. So that's kind of my response. Is it is the premium product for those that want it. If you want the cheapest thing you can do, I mean, hell, I kind of glance over because I'm too lazy to drag it over here. I have this 3D printed hard drive holder. It is how I've demoed TrueNAS a few times because I 3D printed the jankiest, ugliest TrueNAS server ever running on a Zima with a bunch of 3D printed and wires everywhere. Will that work?
Nice.
Yes. Could I
Yeah.
eventually tie 15 drives together? Yes. Will it
Yeah.
be ugly? Yes.
Yeah. And it reminds me, well, touching on what you said, like the HL15 was designed with like home labbers in mind. It's on my videos. Like it's such a tough market to break into because so much of the home lab community is built upon like finding goals and like using old enterprise
Yeah,
stuff. And like that's kind of the thing in home labbing. So to break into it with like this new expensive premier, like premium product that like kind of goes against the
home lab
like
idea.
home lab, yeah, home labbing idea. So I think that was a big hurdle to jump over.
Yeah,
Like,
because home lab is like this
and
race to the
I,
bottom. How can I make the cheapest thing possible? How
exactly.
can I make the
Yeah.
the sub $100 but scores top of the line on everything else and comes up with more
Yeah.
RAM than you'll ever need and comes with like redundant NVMEs, but meets the $99 price point. That's what every home labber wants. I'm like,
Right.
cool story, bro, but there's a point of unrealistic expectations.
Yeah. And like there's a market for everybody. Like in the same way that BMW releases a car that's $100,000, they're not going to sell it as they sell as like a Toyota Camry. Like that's
Right.
not. They're different markets, and I think 45 Drives is very aware that they're releasing a premium product that's not going to compete with a $150 Roseville case you can buy on Newegg. Like it's just different
You know,
markets.
now, this is a fun history. I don't know if you're aware of the relationship between 45 Dries, Protocase, and Backblaze.
I am
Um,
not.
yeah, so, and I think, ooh, cool. I love that Jeff Geerling just popped in. So, Jeff Geerling might know some of this history as well. So, um, and someone else kind of knows the history here. 45 Drive's parent company is Protocase, I believe, who supplies for Backblaze. So the story came out of if you dig into the history, and maybe this is a fun topic. I should talk with the 45 Drives people and some of the other people involved with this. Backblaze was a one of those. Hey, I got this idea. Let's see if we can use consumer hard drives in this high density case that we can build and start a storage company. Hence, Backblaze was born. You know, those we wrote it on a napkin, it came true, and the napkin idea was let's top load everything. They were years ahead of their time doing this cool top load, no type of tray. And Protocase is a prototype manufacturing. They made all the cases. And Backblaze, famously being very transparent, their drive reports, but they also talked a lot about how they built their infrastructure. People are like, oh, I want one of the, they call them storage pods. Everyone's like, I want a storage pod. And so they're like, okay. And 45 Drives then said, we can build storage pods. So it's kind of like an arm of it where they started selling to the public. Matter of fact, there is the Stornado, there's a Stornator, there's the beer keg one that I have bugged them several times. They actually produced one that's a cooler. It's in a case, but in
What?
a rack mount. It's a rack mounted cooler for beers. They call it like the Beerinator. Look it up. You can.
I need to see this.
I've told
That
them
sounds
this. It's
awesome.
like you need to really produce this. I bring that up anytime if I have any conversation with people of what we should do next.
It's
I'm like
wait,
I reference the
it's a
screenshot
rack
from like it's a rack mount. It's one of their cases with beer in it.
and it cool like it's an actual like
No, it's just a
beer.
cooler. It's not it doesn't plug in, but they got the faceplate
Oh,
on it, so
okay.
it
I
looks
was
like a
like,
server.
holy shit.
It looks like a
I was
server,
like, man,
but think about how cool that is to have in there. Like, you got a rack of all these 45 dry servers. The boss is like, "Hey, thumbs up, that looks wonderful." You slide one out, and it's full of your chilled beers. I mean, come on.
yeah.
I think we can
Yeah,
improve on
I
this
thought
as
this
a
was like
product.
a full plugged in like refrigerator. I was like, okay,
It could be. I
that's
think this
easy.
is what they should build. They built it as a
I
joke.
would buy one
I would buy
so
one. They built it
fast.
as a joke.
I
But
would buy one, 100%.
yeah,
That sounds awesome.
yeah, but it's one of those things. It's so cool. They have this kind of cool history of everything that was related to Backblaze and Protocase. And by the way, Protocase is a big company that makes all kinds of one-off prototypes. They're actually known in some of the automotive space and somewhere else because they make these one-off specialized things. They have really advanced equipment for building your ideas, and so it's just kind of there's a whole relationship between all these companies that kind of brought that to where it is today.
Yeah, I had no idea that there was this crazy
Yeah.
relation or that a beer cooler
Oh, I gotta find it.
rack
I
mount
bugged them
could
about that once
exist.
in a while because they just hollowed out a case and built a cooler into it, but they were
That's
showing off all
awesome.
their regular servers. But then one of them's not a server. They pull it out and there's beers in it. I'm like, yeah, like this is cool.
Hell yeah. That's like the level of like putting a tarp in the back of your truck and filling it up with water and making it a hot tub type thing. Like, yeah, that's kind of the level that I want my server rack at. I want a beer cooler. I want something like that in my server rack. It's missing something,
Well,
and it's probably a beer
this
rack.
is old, but someone built this, and they were a genius for building it. This is a Cisco beer cooler.
Oh wait, that's the
You know, here we go. This was famous on Reddit. Let me find the right image.
what? That's so cool.
That is
I
epic.
wish, God, I wish I had a fraction of that like creativity and know how to do anything.
I
I
might
mean, I
build
guess
this.
I mean, I'd say that's just like wait, does it actually have all RJ45 stuff on the front?
Yeah, it's all they cut the back of the server off and just glued it all to the front of the
Oh
fridge.
shit. Okay.
So it looks like it's I
Okay,
would go as far I would
see.
make the lights. Well, they did. They actually the lights light up here, so I see lights on. So it's blinky. I want to make one that's
Yeah.
fully blinky, so no one knows that it's not real. And then they just
Yeah, I
glued
mean
it to
all
the
the
fridge.
yeah, I mean, I guess that's do I have the motivation to do it? No, but I will admit that it's very cool,
Yeah.
and I would be very jealous of it. But man, yeah, that's I have zero like inspire or like any type of artistic or manufacturing type ability. Like it's I wish I could get in 3D printing and like laser cutting and stuff. And it's hilarious because we have a 3D printer and a laser cutter, but my wife is the artistic one. So she made like these 120 millimeter fan grills. Like she designed them and laser cut them with the RaidOwl logo on them. I was like, wow, I could never do that, but this is cool as shit. So,
So alls I can find, I will dig it up sometime, and I'll bring it up again. There is an old post on Hacker News, 2014. That's when it is. 45 drives. You could order the Beerinator. Here, what we're gonna have to do here is
order
copy a link.
beerinator.php. Let's see it.
Hold on, we're going to the way back.
I was gonna say no way that URL still exists.
Yeah, I'm gonna find the way back when machine here. If I can
Geek
spell properly.
Beehives, Geek House, Storinator, and Beerinator. That's what Jeff says.
Let's see if they have a page on it. Well, they did in 2014, so we can pull one up here. Where's the snapshot of it? I mean, there's something they should bring back. I love bringing this up to them. They always get a chuckle out of it whenever I talk to the media people there, because you're like, "Hey, Tom, I've actually helped them with their YouTube channel and things like that. The not so serious
Look at
storage product."
yeah, look at Jeff's message. Said just search for Geek Beat 45's Beerinator. Oh shit.
Isn't that cool though?
That is so slick. Yeah,
Like you
that
would
is
order
awesome.
this, right?
Oh, 100. Oh, hell yeah. That
I
is,
mean,
I would 100% get that.
I'm
It's
thinking this
so
could be a
like,
more.
oh, shit.
I'm thinking this could be
Like,
more popular than the HL15 amongst the
I
YouTubers.
would, like, I can just picture, like, you have people over and you're like, hey, come check out the server room. Like, all these random servers, you're like, hey, check out what's in this one. Just pull that shit back. Loaded with beers.
Loaded. I mean, this is just,
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is just
They
genius.
100% have to sell that. And they don't even have to do any like crazy engineering. It's like one of their
They
already
wouldn't have to
models
send
with
them
just
to
a
us.
big
We
piece of
would
metal
we
in
would
it.
be lining up to buy these.
I I guarantee you a lot more people than they think would buy those.
Yeah, the devil on your
I'd be
shoulders, like,
willing to bet.
why haven't you bought one already?
Yeah, no, I'd be like, dude, I'm way ahead of you. I already bought one. You don't even have to show up. It's
Yep,
it's it's
absolutely.
being delivered tomorrow. That is crazy. I never knew like that ever existed, which man, yeah, now there's something else I want that of.
He's not wrong about this. Well, I'm gonna wind this down here. Because one,
Yeah, we're
I
pushing
have now
two
drank
two
enough that
hours.
it needs to leave. And so
Yep.
I've ran out of this and now it wants to come out. So
I was gonna say, yep, I'm all
yeah.
out. So that means it's time to get. But
Yeah.
man, yeah,
But
what a. I never thought I was gonna come into the stream learning that
about Beerinators.
a Beerinator exists and that I can't have it. So
And in a while, Jeff
wow.
Keeling would appear at the end of this. So
Yep, we experienced that, and we experienced an earthquake here in Texas, specifically at
ah,
my house.
yep.
For,
That
yeah,
was like, if you want to know how, I'm gonna find that clip and pull it out, and we'll post as a short. So how's
that is
RaidOwl's
such a
experience with
clip. Pull
Linux
it
going?
up.
This just
That is couldn't have been. I guarantee. Like, okay, not was not planned, and there's no way I could even plan that because I wouldn't know how to make my webcam just start
nope.
convulsing
But Linux
and
knows how,
shaking.
and that's what's important.
I didn't even do anything. That was the funniest part. Like I was just sitting here. I wasn't like messing with another application. I wasn't like trying to run OBS and something
Nope.
else at the
It
same
just
time.
it
I
just
was
took
just
over
sitting.
it took the stream
Yeah.
over, man.
And it was
It
like,
became our entertainment. I should just made you full screen when you're doing that.
I was like, it was like, hey man, you want to see a party trick? You want to see
Yep.
something cool? Check this out.
You're talking about how my Linux trip is going. Let's go for it. So I will
Yeah.
grab that clip out
Like,
later. So but I'll leave everyone with that. I'm gonna wind this down. I gotta go pee and I'm out of whiskey. Those two things have converged and we've talked for 2 hours. So
yep. Big
thanks
true.
for joining. See everyone next time and subscribe to RaidOwl's channel if you're not subscribed already. And if you aren't, why not? So
Yeah.
follow
Do
his
it.
Linux journey and whatever epic thing happens with his camera next. Thanks.
Yeah. So far, so good.
We'll end with
Oh
that.
God. Yeah. See y'all.